I'm sitting here today with Sam Hansen, a guy that I just met recently, like this summer. And first and foremost, before I kick it off, I gotta shout out my guy, Instrumental Drew, at Instrumental on all social media platforms. If it wasn't for Drew, then I would have never met Sam, and I would have never uncovered or heard this story that we're going to talk about and just get into, Sam's history and all the amazing things that he's done throughout his career. So, before we get started, I just want to throw it to you so you can introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've done over the years.
Um,
I mean, will you give us the Cliff
okay.
Notes version because you've
Yeah,
done
yeah,
so
yeah.
many
Well,
things,
I
but
mean,
just a brief intro.
for sure. Definitely, you know, grew up in Vallejo, California. Uh, and I was a huge fan of, I'd say, more traditional like boom bap music, even though like all of the mob music was going on around me. I was a lot, I was bumping Common Can I Borrow a Dollar when all my friends were bumping Mac Dre stuff. So I just sort of took the Mac Dre stuff for granted. I was actually a bigger fan of like No ID production. I mean, I loved,
Really?
I loved, my favorite song to this day is I Used to Love Her. Like, I mean, I
Wow.
remember watching that video, and so I was, but everything. I mean, I was just into the stuff that kids of our age were into, watching MTV Raps, watching Rap City. Um, so naturally, I'm sort of I guess you'd say like a hip hop nerd. Like I knew what producers were doing what and things like that. So we we paid attention. We knew that Kanye, he had done Takeover for Jay, obviously, and we were fans of Kanye. And I ended up moving to Fresno to go to school. And then I ended up opening up a store with a guy named Robert Noggle, who has a famous cameo in the Kanye workout plan video, his head nod. And we opened up a store in Visalia. We were mainly using it for warehousing purposes. We had a website called centralcali.com. We're sort of like a hub for just all like hip hop activity in Central California. It was where, I guess it would be social media before social media, because we had a message board where people would argue about albums and things like that. We tried to monetize that and put a store online. And
So you're doing e-commerce in like the early 2000s.
2000 and 2000. So we built the website in 99, and we put this message board on there, and it ended up getting about 10,000 registered users on it, like people from Bakersfield to.
So it was all Central. So this was like a hub for Central California.
You up for Central Cali, and then Bobby was really in good with Bobito, with Vaz, with like a lot of. I ended up doing the logo for the Weathermen with LP and that super group that Megahertz and I think Aesop Rock eventually ended up being in the group. So at that time, I guess you could say we were doing a lot more for independent, like Raucus, those type of artists. Bobby was putting out mixtapes. His mixtapes were called For the Kids. And I was doing a lot of album covers and logo designs. And I had a little screen printing carousel, a little small, just one station, 4-color in my apartment. And when they changed the area code for here in Fresno to from 209 to 559, the day that they did that, I printed T-shirts. I had T-shirts already made that said nickel 9. So I was going around with 2 nickels and a gun, and I was going around selling those at Fresno State, selling those around the valley. And so Bobby DJing on his mixtapes, and he's building up. You know how it is when you're in a record pool, you just get all these extra records that you don't necessarily need. So we just decided that since I was selling T-shirts, we had access to this products that weren't readily available in the Central Valley at the time, because people just weren't that savvy, to use Sandbox or any of those.
Right. I mean, this is, I think it's hard for people to understand now. but that was such a primitive time. Like you couldn't just print. It was so hard to print t-shirts and like even build an e-commerce store. You had to be super like, you had to really know what you're doing. No coding. Like it stuff was not easy. The technology was not available then, like in the way that it is now.
Yeah, man. It was probably, I think, Digital Gravel, obviously they existed before we did. And we had a good relationship with Digital Gravel. We tried to carry brands that they didn't carry. But yeah, eventually it got to the point where we were like, we can't just warehouse all this product that we're selling on our website in our apartments. So we just got a storefront, and our plan, the majority of the product that we were selling was, we're shipping out, and we would throw open mics and b-boy battles, MC battles at the shop, really involved. And we sort of just nurtured the local hip hop scene. And we started having a brand show up to promote at these events called Lifted Research Group. So this is 2000, 2001. Our store opened 2001. And we pretty much grew from a record store where, we were selling, your typical hip hop shop, vinyl records, graffiti supplies, mixtapes. And then we would have, Planet Asia t-shirts and hieroglyphics t-shirts and things like that.
So like heavy Bay Area stuff, or in some LA stuff like that, like just
we carried like Hayes t-shirts.
Okay.
We carried actually, we carried Zoo York before Echo started distributing it. When it was like Zoo York back then, a lot of people forget this, it was lightweight on the level of like Supreme, with Harold Hunter and like all those dudes.
Yeah.
So we were carrying that. So we had a few bigger brands that you just couldn't really get.
Yeah. You couldn't find it on, like you couldn't just, this was before you could buy anything online.
Yeah, for sure. So that was our angle. And then so LRG really pushed us into, we kind of just grew with LRG into a streetwear shop as opposed to just your traditional, boom bap hip hop shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so
you just started like rocking with LRG, like you just knew that they were going to be big, or
so we had a friend named Isaiah from Dinuba, a local small town here, who was working with LRG. So I would go down there and I would hang out with those guys a lot, and I just became really good friends with Kevin Delaney, Vince Ringo, Jonas. Jonas was a close friend of mine. And so they were a family. Like LRG was, it was a family, and we sort of just grew with them from just a typical backpacker brand into a fashion brand. And because we were on the West Coast and Digital Gravel was on the East Coast, we would get all of the new LRG drops before anyone else. So Drew used to call, and Drew would, hey, like when you get that next shipment of LRG, like Drew's super savvy about.
So Drew found you guys online somehow.
Yeah. Drew
knew that you had the exclusive drops.
Yep.
He could get it from you before you could get it in New York.
Oh,
I mean Chicago or New York or wherever.
Anywhere. Like we were the first ones that were getting it. Like we were, because we just had a good relationship with them, and we're not in LA, but we're close enough to LA to where we get stuff, ground next day. Mm-hmm. And none of the shops in LA that were getting it, like Workman's, and I'm sure there's a few others down there that had it. They weren't. I don't think they were placing the orders at the volume that we were, and they just didn't have the online infrastructure set up to, ship out. Back then, I remember us paying the extra loot to get an encrypted shopping cart, and that was like a big deal. Like it used to be like I would get orders and read the credit card number, and I'd punch it in on our little credit card terminal, like manually. So like
the old one, the sliders, like you were doing it on.
Yeah. But I would manual enter and punch it in. So we had some people, like obviously like LRG was working with Kanye. Our boy Eric, DJ Evis Rock out in Chicago, he was knew Kanye, and so we knew a lot of people that knew Kanye, and Bobby had made a connection with Kanye, and then Drew connected him with Don, and then that was when we started printing out some t-shirts for him. I was physically printing out the first in Chicago skyline, logo tees.
Wow.
So
now correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that you also like, did you also sell dunks at the store? Like, and you were like the only place that you could get like certain sneakers in California as well.
So I'll get to that part. It kind of goes
okay.
like later.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
No, but yeah, that's so at that point we were pretty much still we still had records, vinyl. But that was when you started seeing the birth of all of these like streetwear brands, Mixwell, the Seventh Letter, the Hundreds, Hip Hop is Dead t-shirt. I mean, we were Crooks and Castles, the Medusa tee. Like this is when these things are first starting to pop up. So right around that time, we were like bringing in Upper Playground and some of these brands. And then we were selling a lot of Nickel 9 t-shirts, the local Fresno stuff also. And then LRG was just crushing for us. Like, I mean, it was just ridiculous. Like we couldn't keep
it on the shelf. Like it was selling out before it was even.
This is when like the straw hat era of LRG was, so this is pre, Dead Serious. This is like that. So then we did the Skyline shirts.
So how did you start doing the Skyline shirts? Like Don just called and said, hey, because you guys were the only people that could really print up t-shirts then?
Well, I think that he knew that, we had a smaller operation. Like I was physically printing them, and I also worked at a screen printing shop. So the crazy thing is during all this, we're throwing big ass b-boy battles, MC battles. We were running our shop, running the e-commerce, and then I would get up at 6 a.m. and go work in a sign shop and screen print before we would come open up the shop. Cause hip hop doesn't start till noon.
Right.
No B-boys get,
right.
So we would I would go work in a sign shop and screen print and do graphics. And then I would come in and open up the shop. I'll get to the point of that later. But because I had a little small operation, I could just do a couple shirts for them at a time. So that's why when I've shown you like some of these crazy like samples that I have, and people are like, what the fuck? Like,
like, stuff that the internet has not seen. The internet has not seen these shirts.
I mean, I'm a hoarder, and I've sat on a lot of stuff, but there's some stuff that we did that just, as I'm sure people that are familiar with Kanye, there's stuff that he did not like. And it's like, nope, that's not going out, And I personally think some of the stuff was, some of it he's right was trash. Some of it I thought was pretty dope.
Right.
So eventually we'll break that stuff out. But we're doing the Skyline stuff. The Skyline shirts did pretty well.
And this is early. This is like probably when he's still producing, like doing like maybe right after the Blueprint. This is not College Dropout quite yet. You're not there yet.
Not at all. This is whenever he was doing the mixtapes with Academics. So the crazy thing is, for years, I thought that someone at Academics had done that Skyline logo, because I didn't do it. I didn't do the Skyline logo. They had sent it to me as a, but I think I had to vectorize it. I don't recall, but Drew just reminded, I think this chick named Scout.
Okay. Yeah. It could have been Scout, because I think, he's done a bunch of stuff for Drew.
I think that, oh, I'm sorry. Is it a dude named Scout?
Or is it a girl? I don't know. Is it? I don't know. I don't know.
Someone named Scout. Drew said did the college. I'm sorry, the Skyline logo. And for years, I thought that it was the guys at Academics, because we had that Genius level mixtape that Kanye had done for Academics, and it was on there, and it just kind of looked their style, with the stars and everything. So for years, I thought that, and then, nonetheless, like we're printing that stuff. We're selling some Kanye mixtapes. It's really not like huge for us. And then, I can recall like talking to, Kanye, talking to Don online, and, they're saying that there was, that they wanted to have a logo for the College Dropout. And originally they wanted, I think so. They finally got somebody to do the stuff for them, but the Bill Gates and with Ross Perot, and they had like all these different like famous college dropouts that they wanted on a shirt. And I ended up not doing that, and someone else did it. And I just didn't think that was the move. And then
wait, so the original College Dropout was going to be like actual, like Ross Perot and these different like
Yeah,
presidential type of people, Bill
yeah,
Gates.
or people that have been successful without college. I think maybe.
So I remember there was a one college dropout T-shirt with Bill Gates on it, where he's holding the like the lineup sign, like if you were getting your mugshot taken or whatever.
Yeah. That. So he wanted more of that. He wanted like all of these, like all somewhere. I don't even think I have that file anymore, but somewhere I had.
There is a file with that stuff on there.
It's not even on a jump drive. It's on like a CD-ROM of like all these stars that have like people that didn't, that dropped out of college in it, and it just didn't hit. And then I recall Bobby bringing me or forwarding me the mascot photos, like the photo shoot of, like whatever. And I was like, and obviously like I'm polo head, and I knew Kanye was also. So I was like, yo, we could flip this bear on some like kind of polo shit, but make it like a little more sporty. And so I have the sketch. Like I remember just kind of like on a piece of paper, like putting sad eyes, like sketching out, like kind of just making it look more collegiate, like putting a thick stroke around it. And that's what we did. We just kind of made that the head. We took the head off of the picture from the cover and turned that into the drop. I mean, obviously, originally it wasn't in this color. Originally wasn't in this color. We just sent them the maroon. It was a maroon with this and yellow on it. Mm-hmm. And
you hand drew that, correct?
I sketched it out. I sketched out like a super rough one, and then I did it in Illustrator. I did it in Adobe Illustrator, saved it as a JPEG, and I remember we sent it to Kanye and Dawn on like AOL Instant Messenger, and they were like, "Yo, that's it. So that's our shit. Like we're gonna use that. That's our logo. Like we're gonna like, how much do you want for this? Like this is gonna be like our, like we got a budget from The Rock. Like don't tax us on this, but like
right. We can pay you for it. Like we're not asking for it for free."
And like honestly, man, like, and I tell young graphic designers this all the time. It was the smartest move I think that I've ever done, that we've ever done. We were just like, nah, man, like you're the people. Like the Weatherman logo, like all that stuff. Back in the day, I never charged for logos. I just like, gave my shit away just to get it out there.
Yeah, right. You needed to get your name out there.
Mm-hmm. And so we said, here, you can have this. We just want to do the merch for it. And
wow.
We had no idea that, it was going to be, we had no idea that he was going to go on. I remember the moment it happened, man. He was wearing the brown college dropout with the orange and the gold. And I think he went on TRL and he said, "I'm the best dressed man in hip hop." And people believed him.
Yeah, right.
Because like when the album went on sale, that was what we asked. The only like, what we wanted like for the for doing the logo, because Bobby's also credited with like the creation of the logo too, because like it was kind of his idea also. Like it was right. Both of us were kind of like, yo, we should do this. Like it's like bouncing back and forth.
Right.
And then we said, hey, can you have the guys at The Rock send us a Photoshop file, the PSD of your album cover, and can we put an extra page in it that says, for fan club information and merchandise, log on to KanyeWest.com. And I don't remember who it was, if it was Dawn or Kanye. One of them said, well, we don't have a shopping cart on KanyeWest.com. And we were like, yo, we just got our shit encrypted. Like we just got the most legit like shopping cart ever.
Yeah. And that was like getting a liquor license then. Like you having an encrypted.
Yeah, man. Like Dawn, if I remember correctly, like Dawn was always like I think Kanye too, but they're both like super like tech savvy. Like,
right. And you said you were chatting with them mostly via email, like instant messenger. Like that's how you were communicating with them at the time.
Yeah. And then later BlackBerry.
Yeah. But, and correct me if I'm wrong. How the story I heard it was that they told you, all right, we need this logo done, or can you help us with this logo? And they needed it done in like less than 24 hours, right? Didn't they need it in a very short amount of time? Like the turnaround for it was crazy. Like we got to turn in the album
on certain things. I don't think it was that particular logo.
Okay.
Like there were things like that picture behind you.
Yeah.
That was fucking crazy. Like they sent me the sketch for that and they were like, yo, can you flip this into like a vector art file for us in like, 3 hours? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was, right. Like that. I don't think it, because I recall working on that logo for a little bit and like kind of making it look, like adjusting the thickness on it. We spent a little bit of
time. So you spent a lot of
time
time perfecting that.
Yeah, not a whole lot, like not like some of these people, but I mean, it was like, they were like, boom, like that's it, let's roll, you know?
And it was approved. You said it was approved immediately.
Yeah. Because to be honest, there's some stuff in here that, like, in retrospect, we'd probably go back and fix, like the eyes and things like that. They're iconic now, but you know, I might have cleaned those up a little bit now. But the crazy thing though, what bugged me out was, you know, when they let us put that, so they let us put that extra page in their album cover. And we told them, well, okay, you don't have a shopping cart on KanyeWest.com, but what we can do is get the HTML code from KanyeWest.com, put it on FTK online and on one of our pages. So if people click on shopping cart on KanyeWest.com, it'll actually take you to FTK online/Kanye, and all your merch will be on there, and it'll look hella much like your page.
Website, right.
Yeah, you know, people didn't even notice that for, you know, when the album dropped and people would go get merch, like they were actually on FTK online. That's where the orders were being processed. So I'm still working at the screen printing place, coming in, opening up the shop, and Bobby and I come in, like, I think it's the day after the album dropped. And, you know, normally, like, if we sold 50, 60, 70 LRG orders, we were like, oh, we going, sis. Like, we were balling, like, at that point.
Yeah.
And we come in like the first day, and, you know, in our inbox, we look in our inbox, and each order is in there, and there was like 300 something orders. We were like, oh shit. And then the next day we come in and there's like 400 orders. And then the next day there's 700 orders. And we're just like, oh shit. Like,
you weren't ready. You didn't think it was gonna, I mean, I'm sure you thought the album was gonna be big, right? But did you think it was gonna?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's no disrespect to Kanye.
Yeah.
You know, I just didn't, like everyone else, you know, everyone has said this, right? Like, we thought that the album was gonna flop, and they were gonna take his beats and give them to Cameron or Beans or something, right? Like, everyone has
Bleak or whoever, right?
Yeah. And because I had heard him deliver some clever lines, Miracle Whip line, obviously, and, you know, but I just didn't know if people were going to accept him as an MC. I just didn't.
Right.
You know, you didn't know. And but they did accept him as the best dressed man in hip hop.
Right. Immediately. Off rip. I mean, it was.
Yeah, because
he was dressing like nobody else at the time.
Yeah, and like later on, that makes a big difference in moving merch. You know what I mean? Because we ended up doing merch for Mobb Deep. We did merch for Common. You know, to me, Common's one of the greatest MCs of all time, and people weren't buying his merch like Kanye's merch. I mean, they were buying Kanye's merch like it was, you know, fucking Versace. Or, you know,
so from the beginning, his merch was moving.
From the beginning.
Was he hands-on with it at the time? Like, was he like over, or was that mainly like a Don or John Monopoly where it's kind of handling that realm of?
Both. There was some stuff, and then later I'll get to a story later where he sort of was like, no, this is just merch. Well, actually, you know what? Like, if we don't have enough time to get to it, I talk about it on my Closed Minded podcast. I talk about sort of an incident with, or not an incident, but a situation where Taz Arnold from Sarah and I get into this conversation, and we're talking about design stuff and fashion stuff, and Kanye was kind of like, nah, like, that's gonna be for Mascot. This guy just does my merch. And I was talking about, and that was like the first time I heard that. Like, I thought I was gonna be involved in Mascot, so I was kind of like, like, okay, okay, that's so. But yeah, at that point,
okay, so the order. My bad, I keep cutting you off, but like, so the orders were a few days out of College Dropout becoming this huge album. I think people thought maybe, all right, it'll sell 100, 150K first week. This thing sells like 400 some thousand first week. It just explodes. And are you prepared for it at the time, or?
No. And I'm not, you know what? I will take that back. I didn't think it was going to flop. I just didn't know if he was going to go on at the rate that he did. But I had actually heard, because we'd heard a lot of the music too. So I had heard the, what's it called? Before they took out the Lauryn Hill sample.
All Falls Down.
All Falls Down. And so I had heard the album before it came out.
You heard it when it was Self-Conscious, when it had the Lauryn Hill sample.
Yeah. And I was like, man, like, this album is, I was like, this album has the potential to be a huge album. I did think that, but I was just like, is he going to be respected as an MC, and I just didn't know how he was going to progress as an artist.
Right.
But the minute I heard that album, I did know that it was definitely going to be a special album.
Right.
Album. You know, I mean, you couldn't not listen to that album and be like, oh shit, like this is, you know, he's doing something that no one's done here before.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't know that we were going to, I mean, there was a point where we were just like sleeping on piles of t-shirts, like just like packing orders. Like we had so many like orders to get out. And I mean, I remember just my arms feeling like Popeye, like my forearms, because I just been printing so many shirts.
You were hand printing all that early merch.
Yeah, man. And then eventually I went, you know, I outsourced it to a place with an automatic because we just had to. And so then at that point, we're doing, Bobby ends up going on tour with them. So Bobby's also like, he's very tech savvy. Like, I mean, he can also like hook up your MP3 for you, or, you know, like get your Wi-Fi. Like he's always been like very tech savvy. So like they liked having him on the road. He used to do inventory control for a bigger company. So he was really good with just handling the merch. So when they would go to a venue, so I think the first one was School Spirit Tour.
Mm-hmm.
So Bobby was on the road with them for that. And I was running the shop. We only had one shop at that point. It was in Visalia. And, you know, we had kids that we were shipping out orders. And then I remember Bobby being on the road. I believe it was, you know what? It wasn't. It was. So I think that, they were on the road and they said, hey, we need some new merch. We want to, I think we originally started with a maroon College Dropout, maroon with gold, and then a blue with that same color gold on it, and a couple different Skyline versions. The Hip Hop Is Back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those, and I think those were like, I don't remember now, but they were probably done on like Anvils or All Styles, you know, just random t-shirts. And I remember them being on the road, and I think they were talking to me, might have been talking to me on a Sidekick, or Bobby might have had his laptop, but I remember we were talking on AOL Instant Messenger, but I also had them on speaker on the phone. So I'm sending them files via
Messenger, and you're going over them on the phone.
Yeah, but I'm
on the road.
On the road.
And they're in a van. They're not in a tour bus yet. They're in a van, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're in a van. I believe so.
Yeah.
And they wanted me to do some different colorways of the College Dropout shirt. And
because at the beginning, were you just selling like the one colorway? Just like the burgundy brownish colorway or whatever?
Yeah, the burgundy with the yellow on it. And then because it was easy, you know how like when you in screen printing, when you have one screen and you've got that yellow ink in there, you don't want to wash out the screen.
Right.
So I would just change the color of the t-shirt. You know, I was like, okay, well this gold looks hella good on royal blue also.
Yeah.
So whatever, you know.
You're just switching up the t-shirt colors. Or this the yellow paint.
Yeah, the yellow's in there.
Yeah.
And so then there's some of them out there. I mean, I've seen the hoodies go for like $30,000, but like one time I just randomly threw a hoodie, a navy blue hoodie. Like I just threw it on there and just hit it. And one of the kids that worked at the shop was just like, "Hey, let me get that," you know, put it on. Like, so like there's stuff that's, you know, floating around that we just like, you know, did little like one-offs, and somehow that made its way to LA or whatever. But I saw it ended up on Grail for like $30K. I don't know if it sold, but someone was like, "Is this real?" And I was like, my gut was like, "No, we didn't do any." And I was like, "Oh, we did. We did."
Yeah, it's like, how can you even authenticate that stuff now? It's got to be. I mean, you could probably look at it and go, "Okay, I think I did that." But there's so many knockoffs and stuff now. But you could probably eyeball the technology and be like, "Nah, that's not me. That's not FTK."
When we first did these ones, we didn't have these labels, but we wanted to do something so that, you know, stuff wouldn't get bootlegged. So we did this. And these were hella hard to get, man. At the time, like you couldn't just get freaking woven labels.
Yeah.
So we got these like we got these woven labels done, and they say like FTK on the back of them.
Yeah, I have one. I got one of the shirts with that on there.
And so when we first got these, I was like, okay, this is like, we're stunting now. Like we got these. And I remember putting some of these in the School Spirit Tour shirts, the ones where Kanye's wearing like a striped polo. And I think we had like maroon. So just some boxes of those showed up. And I remember being like, "Hey, look, we got these in." And I think it was Dawn, or maybe it's John Monopoly. Somebody was like, "Oh, we don't need those shirts anymore, man. Like that tour is over. You got to start." They weren't even calling it the Truth Tour yet. They were just calling it the Usher Tour. They're like, you got to start coming up with some merch for the Usher Tour next. And they're like, yeah, we don't need those. So there was like 3 boxes of
School Spirit Tour
shirts, and I was just gonna donate them to a homeless shelter. And this dude who worked for us, his name was Powder. He had a little CRX, and I remember him just like taking like boxes of those. Oh, and then also we had some other tees that had those tags in them, and we were like, oh, like they didn't want them. And I just remember him like filling up his entire like CRX and driving away with like these boxes of shirts. But
it would be worth a fortune now that are like.
So man, I've been trying to I've literally been trying to hunt down those, because he and his wife had them in like a storage, and then they got a divorce, and I've been trying to hunt down this like lost cachet of those shirts for freaking years, and I can't find it. But yeah, so then, but with this shirt, man, it kind of ties into the whole like the Miracle Whip, which I'm sure kind of
right.
Get to.
Yeah.
So when I first sent them the artwork for this, like around the time was whenever like I guess like Wild Colorways, like Bathing Ape had just started doing like all those like sort of just loud
right
colorways. And I remember sending them just like the JPEG of this. It wasn't on a t-shirt yet, and like I could hear them in the bus because I had them on speaker, and I sent it to them on Instant Messenger.
The Miracle Whip one.
No, well, this is right before the Miracle Whip.
Okay.
Right before the Miracle Whip, I had sent the JPEG of this.
Of that exact t-shirt, right? Okay.
Yeah, but it was just it was like a JPEG of this. You know what I mean? It was like, because they had asked me to do some different colorways of the College Dropout. So I was like, what do you guys think of this? Boom, and I sent it to him, and I just hear him like, oh, in the background, you can hear people like, damn, that shit is dope as fuck, bro. Like everyone is just like going crazy, loving it. So I don't know if I just got the green light off of the hype. You know how sometimes if people are hyped up off of something, and then you show them something else,
and they're like, oh, and they're in the, it's in the moment, so everybody's going crazy or whatever, right?
It's like courtesy hype or something, right?
Yeah.
So I hit them with this one. I sent them the artwork for that, and they're like, oh shit, that shit is dope. And then I was like, yo, but check this out. And then I sent the Miracle Whip, and then I just hear, like, like damn,
yeah.
Bro. And then they were like, that shit is gonna sell like fucking hotcakes, like bro, like that. So to me, I was like, we got the green light for it.
Right. And so the Miracle Whip shirt, this is after the album. This is like after the albums come out, they're on the road, they're touring.
They're on the road.
Right. So this was going to be for the Usher tour merch.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think they had like another stretch of this tour maybe it was a School Spirit tour.
Yeah.
And so they just needed some like new stuff. They wanted just some, you know what I mean? Like some
updated stuff, right?
Yeah. So that was
the Miracle Whip t-shirt, which is, just says Miracle Whip, which is the famous line, and with the Ben sign, right?
Yeah, Ben's logo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I remember them being like, man, like that's perfect. Like, and I was like, yo, should I put something else on it? And everyone was like, no. Like, so I was like, okay, boom. Like I freaking hit the printer, because I don't know how to put labels in shirts. Like all I know how to do is like,
Yeah.
But the printer had ordered a bunch of freaking shirts that had these labels in it, so I would have to, I couldn't just, I get a few samples, but I would have to hit him. I couldn't just go print them at that point.
Right.
So I hit the printer, and I was like, hey, let me get 144 of those, of these, and the Miracle Whips. And
so you just said, go, I need 144 of these. And are you paying for, you're paying for them like yourself, and then okay.
Yeah, we were paying for them, and then we're splitting it obviously with
right.
Guys.
But you have to put up the money to get them printed and do all that.
Yeah. But I mean, we had terms with this at the shop at this point, and we weren't worried about moving product. I mean, the product was flying out.
Yeah, Kanye's popping. So like, in his merch, he's always been a merch monster from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, we literally couldn't keep it in stock. So 144 of those shirts come, and then we put them online, and I get a call from Bobby. Bobby has been like a grown ass man since he was, 10 years old. Like he's very responsible, like goes to bed early. Like he just, and so he called, and it wasn't the first time that I got scolded by Bobby, but I definitely got like, yo, you got to take that off the site. Like, what are you doing? Like, what?
So you went ahead and put the shirts on the site. You went ahead and took the Miracle Whip and that design and put them on FTK.com.
Yeah, FTK online. Yeah.
You're like, all right, let's sell them.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, what was I? I was probably 23, 24. Yeah. I'm not thinking about, like I had been like flipping logos my whole life at that point. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I guess, I was like, man, who cares? But then at that time, like they had a deal, I think, I'm not sure, with like, I don't know if it was like Scion or they had some sort of, something was going on with another car brand that, that was just above my.
Hey, great. Like you weren't involved in that. You would have no idea.
Yeah, but I just know that they were like, take that down immediately. Like, and
you probably already sold a few at that, or had you sold any yet?
I hadn't sold any yet. They went up and Bobby saw it and Bobby was like, take it down. And we took it down, and the kids in the shop, like they got a few, and then I went and I think I took some of them back. Like I was like, yo, I got to give me these back. And I put them in the boxes and I just taped up the box. And I was like, and when Bobby came back from tour, he was like, hey, he saw one of the kids had one of the shirts. And he was like, hey, you didn't print a bunch of these, did you? Like, it was just a sample. Like, you didn't, like, whatever. And I was like, yeah, nah. Because I paid the invoice with my card, so, because, I didn't want to, like, it wasn't his fault.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you have 120 of them sitting around. Yeah, somewhere in boxes.
Yeah. So for years, I knew exactly where they were. They were in my garage. Like, and eventually like some of the cause like Hennessy bottles got put on top of them. And, I just knew where they were forever. And then like I talked about.
And you probably, did you think anything of it? Were you like, all right, one day these are going to be a treasure and people are going to appreciate these. And like, once people see them, they're going to freak out. Did you kind of have that, in your head the whole time?
Yes, but I thought like people were going to appreciate them. Like I appreciated, seeing a freaking Run DMC, Adidas like shirt or something like that.
Yeah.
That, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of like, so I didn't think that it was going to be the level of what it is now. But at that point, I think I already knew that it was going to have the relevancy of, at least.
Yeah, like, because there was no way at that time that we would have known that, okay, 15 years from now, there's going to be this whole renaissance of throwback hip hop t-shirts, and they're going to be selling for $600. Like the doggy style t-shirt that I had, when I was in 6th or 7th grade, that now are selling for $600, and that I would just tear up and I threw away. Like, there was no way that I would have known that these would be so valuable one day.
No, I didn't know that. I just wanted.
And you didn't know you were going to be working with the most like the most known, the most merch artist of all time. Like, you know what I mean? You didn't know that. You had no idea. There's no way.
I still didn't know, man. And but I've still just kind of always sort of hoarded stuff. Like at my grandparents' ranch, I have some boxes of old merch, and there's a couple storages at my grandparents' place, but one little storage shed that they have. I think I told you, like I went in there, like I was going into Geraldo going into Al Capone safe, and I went in, and there was boxes, and I was like, oh yeah, and I was like, I wonder what's in here, and man, it was just hella LRG shit.
It was not what you thought. It was not the gold mine you thought it was.
It wasn't. No, there was some good music shirts, the good music with the bear labels, which I got told to pull. So I do have a lot of those. Some of those were in there, but it wasn't anything like, like Miracle Whip.
Right.
Like there still might be like there's this one shed that I don't have access to get into, but so then the crazy thing with those shirts was that I had them in my garage forever, just sitting there, and they were in there. Well, let's see, that was 2005 that I put them in there. So in 2016, my house got broken into. I was in the process of moving up here to Fresno, and so all my stuff was boxed up and whatnot. But somebody broke into my house and stole all sorts of stuff out of the garage, and stole that box of T-shirts.
The one box of the.
Or was there more? They stole tons of stuff out of my garage. Tons of stuff, like old LRG stuff. I mean, I had a box of Dead Serious hoodies that
they're just bringing back now. I just saw that they're bringing back.
Yeah. And they stole the case. I had the case of the Cause Hennessy's, and they stole. Actually, I was gone all day because I work up here in Fresno, so I left at like 7 a.m. and I got back at 11 o'clock. And I walk in and I actually catch a dude in my house, and we start,
tussling.
And he gets away from me. But in the process of us tussling, he was like, "Hey man, like I wasn't the only one here. Like people have been coming and going all day."
Oh my God. So you're just like,
yeah. I mean, so there was like Cause Hennessy bottles opened, empty. And they had opened up the Bathing Ape Pepsi, deals, and mixed the Cause Hennessy with the Bathing Ape Pepsi. You know what I mean? Like
just the most expensive bottles of stuff, like the rarest stuff that you could have. And these guys are just drinking it like they got it at the grocery store.
Yeah, it was a hype beast nightmare. So they were like, so that happened, and
you run out in your garage, and this box of Miracle Whip T-shirts is gone.
Yeah, with numerous other things, like a Mac Dre, freaking California Living, like autographed to me.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, like just all sorts of stuff got stolen from my place. But it was crazy because I was in the process of moving. Well, I guess crazy is not the word. It was frustrating because I was in the process of moving, so I had everything boxed up, so I didn't know what I had already moved and what was stolen. I couldn't do like one of those. If you come into this office, there's so much shit. But I'm one of those people where if you take this from Too Short cassette out, I'm going to know that it was the Too Short cassette.
Yeah, right.
But it really fucked me up because everything was in the process. Everything was in boxes. So they had dumped out boxes and stuff like that. So I to this day, I don't have an overall, assessment of what all got jacked. But the crazy thing is that I end up finding one of those Kanye, a bag of like Kanye samples, like just at my dad's house randomly. And it was dusty, and there's Con the Louis Vuitton Dawn t-shirt in there. There was one of the Miracle Whip t-shirts in there, and I posted the video of it on my social media, and then I got one of my ex-girlfriends had one of them, and so I rounded up a few of them. And this guy DM'd me and offered me $1,200 for it. And I was like, hell yeah. So I sold it for $1,200. And I told my dad that story. And my dad doesn't, he's just an old white dude. He's like, but he just loves telling everyone, my son sold a t-shirt for $1,200. Believe that? And so the house that I lived in Visalia, it was rented to the people who used to live next door. And the people who used to live next door have this younger kid, or he was much younger back then. And he was kind of, wore like a Monster Energy hat, like, like kids, like a white kid, but looked like he might, listen to maybe like ICP or something.
Yeah, right. Might be had Juggalo vibes or whatever.
Yeah. And so this kid that I caught in my house and I'm scuffling with, I just somehow I thought that they had something to do with each other.
You were like, these people, they look like they might travel together. Like they might be in the same. Yeah.
The kid was telling me he was homeless, and he looked homeless, and whatever. I actually found his bag and all sorts of stuff. But I kind of felt that because when I went over to talk to the kid next door about the break-in, he was very short, didn't make eye contact with me. I kind of felt like there was something was up, but I couldn't prove anything. And then my pops had already went over, and I knew that they were moving into my house. So my dad is pretty much like the maintenance man for that house.
Mm-hmm.
So was this earlier this year, right when it first started getting hot. My dad goes over to work on the AC, and this is right after I just sold that Miracle Whip shirt to the dude in Dubai for $1,200. And so my dad, so my dad comes back and goes, hey, I was at the Visalia house, and Ryan was wearing one of your Kanye t-shirts, and I told him, hey, you might want to frame that. Sam just sold one of those for $1,200. And my dad doesn't know which shirt I sold. I just told him that I sold a Kanye shirt. And I was like, wait, what? Like that kid has a Kanye shirt. And so, he was wearing one of these, because I had some of these
and he had no idea what he had. He probably had no idea what he was wearing or what.
And like, man, I'm not a street dude. I'm not a violent person, but just how it is coming up in this culture, like some street dudes and some violent dudes. And I was like, do I run up in? Because this is my crib.
Yeah.
Like, this is my crib. Like, do I run up in my crib? It's not exactly a home invasion if I
own it, right?
Yeah. So I was like, but at the same time, I'm trying to
you don't want like an OJ Simpson situation where he went back and got his memorabilia back, but it's like it's a dangerous line to walk or whatever.
So I told my dad, the situation, and my dad comes back with a box of Miracle Whip tees, and a box of the college dropouts, and what else was in there? Oh, the crazy all those like random like off good music like samples. There was some of those. What else was in that? I don't know. Anyway, my dad brought back like 2 boxes, and of course their excuse was, these got left. You left these here. I was like, okay, I mean, I can't.
Yeah, right. I definitely didn't leave a box of those there. That's one thing I did not leave.
I didn't.
Impossible.
Yeah. So anyhow, I showed. I had shown Drew Drew has seen the Miracle Whip tee from whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey man, I got to thinking about like just what a crucial role Drew played in everything, and I felt that he needed one of those.
Yeah.
One of those shirts. Like he deserved it. And I was like, man, I don't feel right selling these shirts for $1,200 and not giving one to you. You know what I mean? Like, so I sent one to Drew, and then I think Drew showed it to you, right? You got the picture from Drew?
He posted it. He like posted a picture of it on his Instagram story. And when I saw it, I go, yo, what is this? Because he has all kinds of rare stuff. Yeah. I had never seen that design before. I thought I'd seen it all. I thought I'd seen every t-shirt. As a historian, or even somebody that had just studied Kanye and all his merch and has seen all that and followed his career closely and been affiliated and know people in his camp, I never had ever seen that design.
Yeah.
So I hit him immediately. I'm like, yo, what is this? And that's when he goes, remember Sam I was telling you about that did all this and da-da-da? He's like, he has some of these. He's like, dude, I'm like, you care if I post this picture? Because I'm going to put it, because, my Twitter, I post way more on Twitter than I do on Instagram. I don't post a lot on Instagram, but like, I'm like, do you care if I like tweet it? Because it's such a cool, it's like one of the dopest designs that I had ever seen. And I'd never seen that shirt. I'm like, this is as rare as it gets. So I posted it on, granted, me and you had not had a conversation yet.
Yeah.
I posted on my Twitter, and I'm thinking, all right, man, it'll probably get some traction. I didn't know it was going to go like super viral.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Right.
3,000 retweets, 5,000, like it just went crazy, right? Because everybody's like, what is this? This is so cool. This is the dopest shirt. I would, give my arm, I would give an arm and a leg for this, blah. So it just starts going, like all the Kanye fan accounts are, shout out to them. They help. They're the ones that really help propel it, So shout out to all of them. And within, no joke, 24 to 48 hours, it becomes the Donda merch. So like the timing, like on it is crazy. He just so happens to be in the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta working on this. And then this design that he had forgotten about for almost 20 years goes viral. It comes across his desk. All right, we got our merch.
Yep.
And so how did that make you feel? That must have been like, what the that must have been a crazy.
Nah, I mean, like people ask me that, they're like, oh, you like hit them up, whatever. I'm like, nah, man, like, I mean, that's his line. Like that was his, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm not a person that like feels entitled to shit or anything. I mean, it was to me, it was an honor to work on that, on two of what I would consider to be the greatest albums of all time, like albums, not just hip hop albums, but like,
Right.
works of music of all
Yeah.
time. Doing,
I mean, look, I don't want to, I know that us as hip hop fans, this would sound sacrilegious, right? You got like the Run DMC logo, the Wu-Tang logo, Public Enemy. And you would probably say it would be crazy to compare it to that, but you kind of can. And this was only for 2 albums, right? Like it's maybe not as iconic as the Wu-Tang logo, but what is? But this is, you show that to anybody and they know what that is. Like there's not many more visible logos in hip hop than that. And that was only for 2 albums.
I mean, obviously, like, I mean, I can't, like, it evolved, like the Murakami stuff and like
right. That came on album 3.
Yeah, that was, but that stuff. I mean, but the Miracle Whip thing. I mean, it was just, I just thought it was so fucking dope because I just love watching stuff come full circle, and I'm just a huge fan of, like, I love irony too, but I love even like, I don't know if there's such thing as good irony, but I love just watching like that was just so dope to me. I'm like, whoa, like this, like he doesn't have to worry about any type of licensing or anything because it's like he's that big now.
Yeah, right. And it doesn't matter. He can pay it. If there's an issue, he and at this point, Mercedes-Benz is like, yeah, use that, please. We love all of this free promo. Like, thank you.
Yeah, man. Like, I someone had asked me years ago, they were like, hey, do you think that like they would ever hit you up to like use you for, designs and stuff again? And I said, I don't know, maybe if they did, it would be just purely out of nostalgia. I was like, because the stuff that I was doing for them was like, I was flipping Louis Vuitton monogram prints for them on t-shirts. Now they can go to Louis Vuitton and Virgil will just, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, right. They don't need me for that. But so that's what I'm saying. I was honored to like be part of that. And to be honest, like it's given me access to be able to do a lot of stuff for Fresno, and for like, I take a lot of pride in like my local community, and selling some of those bins, Miracle Whip shirts, like gave me extra money to fix up a gallery space in my shop that we did pop-ups for local Central California brands. And so I was happy about it. I was like, man, this is dope. Like, this is really dope. I ended up getting one of the Donda ones, and like, so I have both of them, so I
mean, it's got to be a really cool feeling to be like, something I made, almost 20 years ago that was forgotten about, that almost was lost to history. Because I mean, I don't know if you know where the original logo is and the file or whatever, but like a lot of this stuff is lost to history, and some of these stories get lost to history. But like this gave it a whole new life, I feel like.
Yeah, man. No, I don't. I tried to find the original file for it, but I couldn't find it. There's like, some of these CD-ROMs got lost. I do have some of the files for stuff. Like and
there's probably is there other designs of shirts that you've done that never came out?
Oh yeah.
For the Kanye stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Probably so many.
There's this which shirt was it that oh gosh, I showed Kanye, and he said he goes, I don't love it, but I don't hate it. What shirt was that? I think it was this. I thought it was dope as fuck. So I heard Gold Digger before Kanye had laid his vocals on it, and he didn't have Jamie Foxx on it yet. He had the movies. He had actually like Ray Charles like vocal sample on it, and Bobby had the MP3 on his iPod of, it was the beat, and it had Kanye literally going no, like just getting his cadence down, like it just had,
just Bobby, like a very rough reference, no lyrics, just sounds like how he wanted to.
Yep. And so and the minute I heard that, man, I was like, oh my God, this song is gonna be fucking huge. Like, this puts him up there with like Maroon 5 and Gwen Stefani, and I mean, he was big then, but he wasn't like you know, he was MTV Jam of the Week. He wasn't like
number one on TRL.
Yeah. And I was like, when I heard that song, you know, I've just always been really good with pop culture, pretty good at like, just, you know.
Yeah, and the timing was perfect because Ray was coming out, Jamie Foxx was like, it was just one of those perfect moments. And that's still his number one charting song on Billboard. Like that's still
right. You know, and like right when I heard it, I was like, this song is going to be fucking huge. So I immediately got on Illustrator. I think I sketched out something rough. I just kind of drew it on Illustrator, and I did sort of like because to me the song had like sort of a like a roaring 20s kind of like flapper girls that wear the long pearls, those hat, you know,
it definitely had that swing. It definitely had that,
like that Art Deco type of like vibe. And I remember seeing designs from back then with like the girl with the, you know, glove with the long cigarette, but it's like done in that very, you know, Deco type style. So I did like a design like that, and it had the long cigarette, and instead of a I, it had a money symbol. And then in that sort of like Deco font, I put Gold Digger. And I thought it was dope. And like everyone I showed it to thought it was dope. And I remember I printed maybe, I don't know, like maybe like I think maybe medium, large, and an XL. I don't know, maybe like 3. And I remember showing it to Kanye, and he said, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And then he was like, you know what? I hate it. I was like, tight.
Yeah.
Tight.
Like, okay, so that's probably like the exact moment when you realize, okay, like this is going to change now. Like the merch is not like an afterthought. Like this is now he's going to be micromanaging this from here on out.
Yeah. Well, but then the story that I was getting, I was telling you.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Podcast. No, it was the moment I knew it was really changing was when we ended up going to the W Hotel in LA. Kanye was living there because he was having that Michelangelo Sistine Chapel painted on his in his house, and he was staying there at the W Hotel just right after the Katrina, you know, the George Bush. I doesn't care about that. It was like maybe like 2 or 3. I don't know. It was
right around that time.
It was the day that Common and Paul Wall did the $2 bill show for MTV2, because we went down there and they gave me a MacBook Pro laptop, and I had come up, like I'd learned the design programs on a Mac, but, you know, running our own store and having like a small business at that point, you know, it was more feasible for us to use PCs. And it was hella easier to get bootleg programs for, you know, PCs back then.
Right. Easier to crack this.
So yes, I hadn't used a Mac in like hella long, and I had definitely not used, you know, like what's that, the little pad thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
I hadn't used one of those before, especially not to like, you know, draw with. Like I'm pretty handy with the mouse, like, you know, where still to this day, that's what I use. So they give me this, and then they're like, hey, we're gonna go to MTV $2 bill show. You're going to come with me, and you're going to design some t-shirts. We're going to design some t-shirts while they film us. And I was like, oh shit, you know, like, but while we were waiting for Kanye to get ready, I had pulled up, I put in a CD-ROM of some of the stuff that I was working on for the Late Registration album merch. And I had that bear, it's out, but it just didn't get circulated as much. But I had done a newer version of the bear where it was sort of like a stencil, where it was flatter. And because at the time, like I was a big fan of the brand Obey, and also like the Bathing Ape stuff, and like the NERD stuff where it was kind of like those flat like emoji.
Things, right.
That bear. So I pulled up that bear and I showed it to Taz Arnold. He was in the room, and he was like, oh man, that's dope. You know, and he was, yo, I got this idea where I want to do like a monogram print, and I was wondering what we could use, you know, to like for that and the other things, you know what I mean, to like replicate the Marc Jacobs, you know, like monogram with the different colors. And I was like, oh shit, bro, I've wanted to do a Con the Louis Vuitton Don shirt for a minute. This would be perfect. So we start laying it out right there, and that's whenever Kanye came out and was kind of like, no, like you don't like.
Yeah, you don't talk to like this is different. This is separation. This is church and state.
He was like, you're gonna do fashion, you're gonna work on mascot. This guy just does our merch. So I was kind of like, okay, that's first I've heard of that, but okay.
Yeah.
And so then we go to the show, and I think it's I talked about it on that podcast. That's whenever the Common thing happens, where Common was giving me props about the what's it called thing, and then Kanye was like, I don't like it. You know, about the stencil bear.
Yeah, right.
And he said to cut the so if you there's some of them out there. They're the original late registration bear tees. It has a book, and then it has that stencil bear on it, and those never like got sold because I had ordered them. I had ordered I think like 144, you know, like send out for radio, but when Kanye saw that to this day, I don't know if he really didn't like it or if he was just trying to like, you know, me on a comment.
Yeah, right. Because you were hitting it off with comment or whatever, and he was yeah.
And so he said like get rid of those little nodes right there, and he was like makes it look like a football helmet. And
that's right. Okay, so it's the football helmet ones that I think you described it as. Right.
That's the one. So I changed those. So you know, those are some of the other ones that I think, you know, we're talking about, like stuff that I have just kind of in the cut.
Right.
Basically, like a lot of people that say like, yo, how did you have the foresight to just hold on to everything? And I'm like, I mean, that's what I do. Like, obviously, like I collect and I hoard stuff. But also though, the reason why I have like certain, just if I have a lot of something, it's because it got changed, and you know what I mean? It didn't go for sale. Like I have hella of those good music shirts with the with this tag in it.
Yeah, because you designed the first Good Music logo, right? Not the one that they ended up using, but like if you look at the first albums, like John Legend's album, right?
Yeah,
you did that first Good Music logo.
So I'll send you what I did, just if you want to put it in there, whatever. And then Bobby at that time was getting like kind of handy with enough to where he could do some basic stuff in Illustrator, and he had Illustrator with him on his laptop on the tour bus at that time. And I sent them this, you know, good with the wings and whatnot. And Bobby and Kanye tweaked it and freaked it, and they pretty much came up with their own version of what I sent them. I'll show you something. Like I'll send you the original version of it. It's never been seen before, and I'll send you the one that was on the John Legend deal. But yeah, we did that one, and then I remember being at Kanye's house, and I was actually playing. I was playing Pac-Man with GLC on one of the little table Pac-Man deals, and that's whenever Kanye came over and showed us the new Good Music deal that the dudes from Crooks and Castles had designed. And I know I did the earlier, but he told Bobby, he was like, are you sad that, you know, and he did that to Bobby. He goes, like, I was hella laughing.
Oh my God, what a dick.
But I mean, honestly though,
that was like, funny. I mean, yeah,
Bobby and him had a really good, Bobby and he had a really good relationship because they had been on tour and they'd been on the bus together. And Bobby was,
so he was just kidding. He wasn't like trying to rub it in his face.
Yeah, no, he was just fucking with them. And like Bobby and I, like, we're like that, man. Like we don't we want to have the best product out there.
Right.
And that, I love that cherub logo.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite. I love that. And I have the one that GLC ended up doing that he flipped and put the
thing on it.
Yeah. It was hard.
I'll send you. So I did find a CD-ROM that has like some of the rough concepts for Good Music logos that I sent to him. I think one of them has like this kid like snuggling the Dropout bear, like sleeping with, you know, it says "Getting Out Our Dreams," and there's one with like sheep, you know, and one with like a cow jumping over the moon. Like I have like all of these, like that stuff I actually do have a lot of. Like that stuff never got printed.
Yeah.
It was just the files of that stuff I do have.
Right.
But yeah, man, so from those two albums, you know, doing the merch, we, you know, obviously making quite a bit more money. And then that allowed us to open up a second store. in Fresno. So we had our original one was in Visalia, and we had Visalia is sort of like a suburb of Fresno, about 40 miles south. It's kind of got its own little metropolitan area too. But Fresno is the bigger city, you know, 700,000 people.
Yeah, right.
So the majority of our customers were coming down from Fresno to Visalia. We knew if we didn't open up a Fresno store, someone else was going to just come in, case our product mix, and create competition for us. So we opened a second store in Fresno. It opened April of 2005, and Kanye came up for the grand opening.
Oh wow!
Which was cool because he didn't charge us anything.
He just showed love and came up and did it. That's super cool. Yeah. So like, paid you back for doing the free logos and like, that stuff comes full circle a lot.
I mean, at that point, I didn't interact with Kanye as much as Bobby. But I mean, anytime like Don, all those dudes, they were just super cool. G, like this cool.
Oh, the best. Great guys.
Ivan, it was like a fam, So like it was like no one was trying to like, oh, am I getting paid for this or whatever? But he came up and he did do a show. So we got him a gig at a club in Fresno that was down the street from our shop. One of our big customers that would come in all the time owned the place. So on Kanye's rider for that dude, I think it was like he had to have 2 security guards with him at all times or something like that. So we knew that he was already going to have these security guards. So we asked we knew the guy who owned the club. We're like, hey man, since you're already going to have these 2 security guards with him, can we get like 2 more for our event? Because we know there's probably going to be a lot of people, and Fresno does not know how to act at all. So we had this security company that worked at the club there. And so sure enough, a fight breaks out, in the line. And one of the security guards ends up smashing on this kid. And the local news is right there, like filming it. This other dude could do like films it. So I end up getting a hold of the footage. So the kid who got, smashed, whatever, I knew him from Visalia. Wasn't like a friend or anything, but I knew him prior to us opening up this new store. He was like one of them little backpacker kids that used to come by, like, bringing A$AP Rock CDs and things like that, Atmosphere and that type of stuff. So I didn't want those kids to kind of get pushed out now that we're,
right,
have Rockefeller artists here and, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, you want to make sure that your core, the people that were there before are still getting the.
Yeah. So then, so I tell the kid, I go, hey man, like, I don't care if you walked up and pissed on that security guard's leg. Like he had no right to, assault you. But then once I started watching the footage, I was like, man, I might have fucking smashed on this kid too. Like this, like,
he was doing too much. He was doing a little too much.
Yeah. And anyhow, the kid ends up freaking suing us.
Suing like FTK or the club?
Everybody,
Kanye, everybody.
This happened at the shop. This happened like in.
Okay, so it wasn't at a club. It was at the. Okay.
No. But I'll get to the club part later because it's something you'll appreciate. And I want to put this out there because I'm hoping that someone has footage of this moment. But yeah, the kid ends up, suing us later. He sues FTK. He sues the property management place that we rented the store from. He sues the security company. Security company was not bonded. Actually, wasn't a security company. It was just some hood cats wearing
security shirt.
Yeah. And I think he ended up suing Kanye, but we had a $2 million insurance policy, so the buck stopped with us.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. So, but that was sort of a, sort of an issue thing that went on. But
that's expensive.
Event, it was all over the news. Like people were like, oh, event gets shut down because of Kanye, fight breaks out, blah blah. But we shut down the event, but Kanye went to the club afterwards, and it was a really like just to me a beautiful moment in Central California history because at that time, this is 2005, like the hyphy movement is moving, like it's at its height. at that moment. And Kanye, we didn't even know if he was gonna perform. Really, we thought he might do like 1 or 2 songs, and just chill at the club. And he got on stage, and I said, "Hey, Kanye," I go, "if you want this like Fresno crowd to just go nuts," I was like, "ask him like what height he is, or ask him like to go dumb. Say like, yo, Fresno, go dumb for me one time." And I already had, my boy was the DJ at the time, and he already had like the Federation hyphy. Like,
the anthem.
Yeah, and this is like Mac Dre had just died, like maybe like a few months before. When hyphy was like, and Fresno's just there like in full Fresno mode, and Kanye gets up there and he's like, "Hey man, like what's this thing that they say that you guys do out here? You guys go dumb? What's it? You guys get hyphy out here?" Like Kanye like said that, and then they dropped the beat, and like people were just just dreads.
It just went crazy, yeah,
going dummy. And to this day, I've been trying to find like but there was no camera phones back then.
It was very rare for people to have that filmed. Like somebody was in there with like a camera like that, or something like this size.
So the dude who was there with the big old camera, when that happened, like you can vaguely hear Kanye say like, "Hey, yo, Fresno," and it's just all loud, and he's like filming some chicks or like grinding on each other.
He just missed the whole. He missed the most iconic part of the whole evening.
Yeah. So, but I always did try to balance that. I guess that's my reason for bringing that up. Was I always like maybe I mean, I'd probably be a lot richer if I had just gone full like Team Kanye and like moved out to Chicago, or just kind of tried to get on as like good music's graphic designer.
Yeah.
But
you just kind of stayed your own course instead of going that, and that is that how the relationship kind of dissolved after that? You just
no. So they brokered a deal with Mrs. West. Mrs. West brokered a deal, and Mrs. West didn't know us personally. Like she had a lot of like family members involved, and they were all pretty cool. They were all really cool. Like but how do I say this? Like I think that she was like, I don't know these guys, and she started being way more hands-on with the brand, and I don't blame her. Like she was like, "Hey, like
let's get some Chicago guys in here," somebody that she knew personally.
I think she just got like this big I don't know if it was her, if it was Dawn, or I'm not sure, but somebody got a deal. But one thing I will say, like I can 100% vouch for Dawn being a real ass dude, man. Like I recall him saying, "Hey, like we got this deal for more money. This is what it is. You guys have been with us for day one. If you guys can match it, we're gonna stick with you." And I mean, to me, that's like like
that's a real. I mean, first right. I mean, that's some real stuff. But at that point, you guys are small up. You probably can't compete with.
So we talked about it. We had talked about it, and this is like this is so freaking ironic that I said this. I mean, it's like, but I remember saying like, if we take out a loan for $2 million, right? Like the interest on that is whatever, like $200,000, something like 250, like $250,000, whatever it was. I was like, man, like, is he going to continue to, chart like he was? Obviously, the answer is yes. At the time,
and then some. But I mean, that's a risk. I mean, everything in the music business is a gamble. Everything, and you don't know.
So then for us, you had mentioned earlier about the shoe game, right? Like the shoe game had just started cracking, and we were always sneakerheads. So naturally, like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I name dropped the hell out of Kanye to get a Nike energy account in Fresno that they did not want to put in Fresno. Like they literally were like, "Nah, like Fresno's not an energy region for us." And I was like, "Man, there's 600,000-700,000 people here," and they're like, "Doesn't matter, there's 300,000 in Oakland. That's an energy area.
Mm-hmm.
Fresno just unfortunately isn't." You know what I mean? And I fought, and I just Kanye, like just Tom. And so then they opened us up as an account, and like when you get like one of those quick strike like energy door accounts, like Undefeated and True and like all those like accounts had, typically you get to do a collab shoe with Nike. And I remember being like super excited. They sent us a template, and Fresno, where we're at, in Central Valley, like it's big, like ag is like the big, theme. It's where like the hood and it's where the country and the concrete meet, And so we did this Air Max 90 that was very like ag themed, had like oranges and blues and greens and stuff in it. And I wanted it to come in like a produce crate, whatever. And I sent them the whole mock-up kit, and they were like, "Oh, well, we thought that our collab with you was going to be Kanye themed." I was like, "Oh,
wall. Then there it goes again."
And I was like, at that time, I think he was still doing stuff with Reebok at that point.
Yeah.
I was like, "Nah, man, like that's something you got to work out with them. I don't."
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we had still got this Nike Energy account, so we were getting all of the crazy, like patent leather Air Force Ones. This is whenever they had just re-released like all of the original Air Maxes, and and we had an Adidas Originals account also that Drew was all about. And I think Dawn used to get a lot of Adidas Original stuff.
Yeah.
But anyhow, we were definitely like the first sneaker boutique in Central California, and it was weird trying to make that work because it was streetwear. We still had records, and we had evolved from record store to streetwear store to now we've got a hardwood, like nice sneaker area. And we had just gotten our second store. We got this Nike Energy account. We're still selling a lot of LRG. We're the only one in Fresno at the time that had LRG. We managed to it had just gone into Macy's, but because we were so cool with the guys there, they only let Macy's carry certain stuff. And
right. So you had like super exclusive stuff that you couldn't get anywhere else.
And we were carrying like the Hundreds and Crooks and Castles and that sort of stuff before anyone, and like no one in Fresno knew what that was.
Right. So like business was booming at the time. So it's like, why would I stop this and take a loan and take all these risks when I can just kind of keep going?
So the ironic line was, I remember saying to Bobby, I go, "Man, we take out a $2 million loan. FTK might as well stand for folding t-shirts for Kanye." That's no diss to Kanye. Like Kanye was like, what's it called? But I was just kind of like, hey, like I wanted to make more, I was making like hyphy t-shirts and stuff too,
Yeah. And you wanted to stay true to, Central California, your community and the stuff that you were doing there.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's nothing against, like I said, like Don might be one of the coolest dudes I've ever met in my life, bro.
Absolutely.
Like, like just a solid ass dude. Like I love those dudes.
The best. Great dudes.
I was just trying to balance, all these things. And I was like, man, like if we take out that big of a loan, I wouldn't feel comfortable not completely dedicating myself to good music and that brand. So they ended up going with a larger
company to distribute the merch.
Yeah, like one of those good people that do like Metallica and
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they used to do.
Yeah, and the labels now have that. Like that's one of the things that the labels now, when you sign a deal, part of the contract is, are you going to use your own merch people to do this, or are you going to use the people that XYZ use to do their stuff that we've used for years that you kind of can't get grandfathered into now? But merch then was something, but it wasn't like it is now, right? Like artist merch is a completely different animal.
Kanye's merch was just something like so like completely different, because like I said, we did Common's merch, and this isn't anything against Common's merch. Common's merch did well. It did really good. We definitely didn't lose money. It just, you can't compare anything, to Kanye's merch.
He just had the hype. I mean, the hype beasts were always there from day one. The hype beasts were in on that. So
yeah, like I said, he said I'm the best dressed man in hip hop, and they believed him.
Yeah, they were just like, it was like when Wayne said I'm the best rapper alive, or T.I. said I'm the king of the South.
Right.
People at that time in the game were making these proclamations, and a lot of them were coming true. There's like speaking into existence.
And I think him really putting his like foot down as far as like fashion was concerned was really what was moving the merch for him, because Wayne was super hot at the time too, But
he wasn't doing merch. His merch, he doesn't.
No. And even back then, I mean, I was doing some stuff with Dipset. I had done some designs that, I got some fire ass designs I did for fucking Dipset back then, man. But even like those Stop Snitching shirts and, the Dipset crest, we sold a decent amount of those, but nowhere near what Kanye was doing. Like no, like by far and away. Like, I mean, Kanye was probably doing 10 times what the Stop Snitching shirts were doing. And
that was, I mean, those shirts were everywhere. Like that logo like went viral before going viral was a, you know, a thing.
yeah.
So
I mean, no, keep in mind, we weren't the exclusive distributor of those shirts like we were for Kanye. I can just base on like what I was ordering from, I think it was the dude's name, Duke the God.
yeah.
Duke.
Yeah. I know Duke. Shout out to Duke. Shout out to Duke.
Ordering stuff. Yo, man, if you ever talk to Duke, ask him about this shirt that I did for them. Bro, it was when like the Stop Snitching shirts were at its height. And I took the Silence of the Lambs cover. And I had just like been pushing enough weight to where I got somebody that would do like the full, you know, my printer would do the full
shirt, right? Yeah.
Whatever. So I took that Silence of the Lambs, and you know the butterfly that's over, or the moth that's over her mouth. I took that out and I put the Dipset eagle over her mouth, and then it said I don't know, you'd say like Silence of the Snitches or something like that. And I had like it was such a dope shirt, and it just got shelved and like never got used. And like I still want to.
You might have to do the best of the shelved stuff, because you even did like you did a shirt with Lupe, didn't you? You did a shirt with Drew, like instrumental, and Lupe, and then you did some stuff for Bump J too, right? Or started to.
Yeah, I really thought that Bump was gonna be like, you know, along the lines of like a 50, or because
he was on track to.
Yeah, because I mean, I think 50 has said this before, right? You know, where he said that like his movement is what swung the pendulum so far that made Kanye like, so that pendulum was like way over here. And so whenever I started hearing Bump J's music and you know, hearing like the Bump J stories, and I was like, oh, okay, this dude is, you know, and he was making good music too. And I was like,
right. Yeah, he was dope. Very dope.
And Kanye's behind him. I was like, man, like we're gonna have another, you know, like this dude could be the Chi-Town 50, you know, and because I mean, you know, everything I was hearing was like, yo, this dude's a real, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and he had the, you know, he got $1 million deal right at the time. I mean, he had a lot of momentum and push behind him too. It just didn't, you know, stuff doesn't work out for whatever reason.
No, I mean, and I think it was just bad timing that, you know, like it was just going too far into that kind of you know, fashion rap. Like, I shouldn't say fashion rap, but that's when you started seeing like the cool kids and
that type of stuff, right? And that's why it was perfect for probably like, you know, even your Lupe, the shirt you did for Lupe I saw it $600 on Grail.
That's fucking crazy. That's wild. That's wild, man.
The food and liquor T-shirt that you did is $600 on Grail.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts. That but yeah, we did some logos for Bump J, and it was all very I don't have that CD either, man. I wish.
Did you do like the Goon Squad with the dice logo? Was that you that did that?
I did some Goon Squad logos, but I don't know if I did one with dice. I don't recall, man. I'm sorry. There was so much going on. Like, because I was doing Lupe stuff, Kanye stuff.
And that all came from the, like, just started doing Kanye. That next thing you know, there's a guy from Central California who's doing all the Chicago artist merch. That's what's crazy.
And then once I started doing like the merch for all the guys out there, then all of, you know, because I'm from Vallejo. So, you know, like I had like dudes from Vallejo reach out to me, you know, and so I had someone like, hey man, you want to do some stuff for Be Legit? Hey, you want to do, you know, so, you know, I started doing like different designs. So I just had a lot going on right then. And actually, I kind of, I've always been like, you know, one to try to like put somebody on, especially if I've got so much on my plate, I might as well kind of. So with the Lupe stuff, there was this younger kid from Madera, local town here, and he was, you know, doing graphic design and stuff. And I was like, hey man, you want to do this? I gave him the what was it, Fahrenheit? What was the Lupe?
Yeah, the Fahrenheit 115.
115. I gave him that. I was like, hey, check this stuff out. You know, get a feel for it. His album is going to be called Food and Liquor, which out here, like, we just call those shits like corner stores,
right?
Like, whatever. And I was like, but it's kind of like, and he was like, oh, it's like a bodega. And I was like, yeah, but kind of like more of a Chi-Town thing. Like, and he's a smart dude. Like, he did his research. And so he did this sort of the food and liquor concept. And then he just, you know, put like FDK logos in it and whatnot. And then they sent it to Drew, and then Drew added, you know, so it was sort of like a back and forth. Yeah. I really didn't do any of the artwork for that instrumental Lupe joint, I just kind of connected.
You connected the dots.
You know, I completely forgot about this, but this other dude, he's kind of like an old school graph head, turned tattoo artist, also really dope graphic designer. He has a tattoo shop right next to my shop in downtown Fresno. His name's Zumbi Nation. I had done some First and 15th logos that they just weren't feeling, and I reached out to Zumbi. I was like, "Hey, you want to take a crack at this?" And he did the music class.
Wow.
The
one that they ended up using.
Yeah, he did that one.
Wow.
So, yeah, and it was a cat that just, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was always really important for me to try to put like some local cats on.
And that's super crazy that, like, you know, all this stuff for Chicago came out of Fresno area. You know, at a time when you'd think like, okay, the College Dropout Bear, one of the most iconic logos in hip hop history, didn't come from LA, didn't come from New York, did not come from Chicago, came from Central California. That's pretty cool. And one thing that I think you said, I read, I don't know if it was on your IG or you put up in one of your stories, you were like, all right, this is my Thomas Edison. Like, okay, he invented all this different stuff. You know, he invented like the motion picture camera, the phonograph, which became the record player, but he's most known for the light bulb. And like, do you feel like that is like what you're going to be most known for? Like, you never know what's going to come next, but it's like, do you feel like the College Dropout Bear is kind of going to be chasing you around forever?
Okay. And then this is no disrespect to that bear. This is no disrespect to that honor, you know? I said back then, I said, I hope not.
Yeah. Okay. You said, I hope not. Right.
Hope not. And that's nothing against,
right.
That's nothing against the Mona Lisa. Like if we use Leonardo da Vinci instead of Edison, whatever. Like,
yeah. Right.
Like you never know what's going to be your Mona Lisa.
Right.
But, that's kind of like what I am the most known for, but I'm still trying to make a helicopter.
Right.
You know, like I'm still trying to make a flying machine or whatever. Like I do a lot of food stuff. I work for a baseball team. So
yeah, no, you do. You've done so much dope stuff afterwards, but it doesn't get more iconic than the College Dropout Bear. I mean, I wish I would have come up with that.
I'm still trying to top that. I just, you know, like, because I'll be honest with you, bro. I don't think that I'm that great of an artist or even a graphic designer. Like I care more about just sort of like problem solving, or, you know, like you've noticed, like I do a lot of events. I do like more like
you did the Tupac restaurant, like you created the restaurant that Tupac wanted to, the Power Mecca, I think it's called, cafe that he wanted to have before he died. You actually made that on his birthday, right? I mean,
that was, you know, so stuff like that is stuff that I'm really like way more into than you know, actual icons and things like that. Like I just write graffiti, so it was just like natural for me to you know, create like icons and things like that. But like the Power Mecca thing to me was like, you know, like bringing something to life that Pac wanted to create after his death, and like having like an immersive experience and things like that. Like really, like I like doing more of that type of stuff now.
Like, but you can't, at the end of the day, you can't be mad that you were the guy that made this thing and really are a part of history. I mean, dude, you are a big part of history for sure.
I mean, that logo, I think what Kanye did makes that logo so much more important. You know what I'm saying? Because like I did the logo for you know, the Weatherman also, which was supposed to be this like super group, you know what I'm saying? Like LP from Run the Jewels and the producer RJD2 and Copyright and all these like Cage, all these like, you know, backpackers.
Was Alchemist in that? Was Alchemist part of that too? I know Evidence was.
No, Alchemist is from out here. This is more like I don't know if there's anyone from out here that was part of that, but it was more like the Eastern Conference Records dudes. Because
so it was Evidence. Did you say it was Evidence?
No. So that was where a lot of people get confused, because Evidence had an album
called The Weatherman. Okay, now I was confused on that. Okay, so it's not. I thought this was Evidence, like an Evidence thing.
No. This was the guy Cage, that rapper Cage, that
of course,
with. He was signed to Eastern Conference Records, so like a lot of the dudes on there,
High and Mighty,
and then LP, And so they sort of like formed like this like super group back then. This is sort of in the whole sort of like hip hop infinity, you know, like hip hop site, like people arguing on message boards type
Right.
era, centralcali.com. I made that logo, and I made the College Dropout logo. To me, like neither one of them are like very like intricate, or you know what I'm saying? Like they are what they are and they serve the purpose, but like what Kanye did makes this logo like so much more iconic, in my opinion. So I mean, I feel like I can't really take credit for it. For one, Bobby, you know, had a huge part in it. So, but it was just like really cool to be part of that experience at that time and to have that connection to Chicago. Like I love Chicago. I'd been out to Chicago quite a bit before that. So it's nice to you know, I guess have that, but it also gets like, you know, hung up like, you know, like I told people, I was like, dude, I invented the Hennessy Slurpee and you guys are still talking about this bear. And then
that's why I didn't even want to ask you to do this, but I'm like, dude, this story has to be documented. Like the story, this has to be properly documented.
Yeah, I mean,
future
and then,
generations.
We'll have like local, like cats will say, I'll have like local cats be like, well, all he ever talks about is that bear. Like, has he ever done anything besides that bear? And I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, check my timeline. Like, I did.
You've done a lot more than the bear.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. But like, that's the and again, this is so. It could come off like I'm fucking like whatever. I don't give a fuck about that bear, and that's not the case because I do. Right. But it's like you feel me? Like that's kind of like the angle where like people will definitely use that bear against me when they want to.
Yeah,
you know, like so
crazy.
Like my one of my really close like cats, Dorian Castro is a local cat here. He has a brand called Sincere, doing really well here locally. And I'm really glad that like, cause he created the Fresno Tacos logo. Like we were one of the first teams to ever like kind of create an alter ego. And like we're the Fresno Grizzlies, but on Tuesdays we played as the Fresno Tacos. And like those hats like blew up. Sidebar, I was telling someone the other day, they were like, yo, where did you guys sell the majority of those Fresno Tacos hats? And I was like, well, obviously California. Then they'll just sell a lot in Texas. And I was like, yeah, but we sold way more in Illinois than we did in Texas. And they were like, really? And I was like, bro, 1.5 million Mexicans in Chicago. And they were like, freaking, you know, like a lot of people here in Cali don't realize that you guys have a huge you guys have a huge that's my cassette collection.
There's the cassette collection right there.
But yeah, man, that he created that Fresno Tacos logo, and I was worried that was going to be his, you know what I'm saying, like Edison light bulb or
his dropout bear.
Yeah, his dropout bear. And he has managed to just really go full steam into his brand now, and his brand is blowing up and doing really well here. And I think that I never did that. I never like really just said like, hey, I'm going to make FTK a clothing brand. Like I always like kind of jumped around. Like I went and worked for the Grizzlies and created this taco truck throwdown event and did the Tupac thing. And I've kind of used FTK more as an agency.
Yeah.
And so if we were to look back collectively of like what FTK has produced as an agency, the biggest thing is still always going to be the Kanye Bear. So he's literally the biggest artist of this
of our generation. Yeah, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that's had a bigger impact on fashion, music, culture, all that. And you did the first things.